Shalom. All praises go to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Double honors unto the elders at Great Millstones for the teachings. Shalom to all the Akim. Genesis chapter 14, verse 1. And it came to pass, before I start, I like to say, sorry, Salakyam, because I'm going to make a couple of mistakes in pronouncing the names, in the pronunciations of the names. So, keep in mind, these are names I have never heard of. Anyway, never read also, I mean. Genesis 14 and 1. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Ariosh, king of Elasar, Sedorla, Omer, king of Elam. Oh, Elam I know, is the East Indian. And Tidal, king of nations. That these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, who is homosexual, and with the Birsha, king of Gomorrah, also homosexual, lesbianisms, and bestiality going on in those countries, cities. Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and king of Bela, which is Zoar. Verse 3. All these were joined together in a vale in Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. So they was fighting against each other. These homos, these kings of these homo places and stuff like that. Zawad wasn't a homo place though, but Zeobim also not. But Sodom and Gomorrah was fighting these kings. It was like, let me see, one, two, wait a minute, one king, two kings, three kings, four kings, was fighting one, two, three, four, five. I think four versus five kings. Four kings versus five kings. Okay. 14, Genesis 14 and 5. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashraf Karnaim. The Rephaims are giants. These are the giant people. Okay, these are not the men that were mentioned in the book of Genesis chapter 6. Old tribe of giants. Now, if you go to Genesis chapter 6, where it says in the Genesis chapter 6 is 4 and 4, there were giants in the earth in those days. That's not talking about, see, the word giant over here is Nephaim, which basically means men of valor, or basically strong men. Like Michael Tyson, Michael Jordan, those are all men of valor. Okay, going on. The Rephaims and Ashraf, Karim, and Karnaim, and Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shaphe Kiriathaim, Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir. Now, this is the place where the Edomites dwelled after that the Horites got out of there. So Esau has the place of Mount Seir, but it used to be of the Horites, which is a Hamite tribe. Okay, unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Verse 7. And they returned and came to En Mishpath, which is Kadesh, and smote all the countries of the Amalekites, which are the so-called Jews. The people that call themselves Jews right now are the Amalekites. And the Amorites, which are so-called Africans, that dwelt in Hazezon Tamar. So yeah, And these are Africans also in Ham, as you can see, Ham, or so-called Africans. And the Rephaim are the people of Ham also. Those are giants. The Philistines are also Hamites, okay, from Goliath and stuff like that. So those giants were Hamites, were dark-skinned men. Genesis 14 and 8. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar. And they joined battle with them in Vale in Siddim, of Siddim, in the Vale of Siddim, Salakia. With Chedor Laomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elazar, 4 kings with 5. Yeah, see, 4 kings with 5. And the Vale Siddim was full of slime pits. Those were, you could say, maybe, slime pits, traps, maybe. Let me get that. Slime pits. Slime, asphalt, and it was basically quicksand because it's this asphalt. But if you're busy with the asphalt, then it is really slimy. Not slimy. I mean, it's like quicksand. Okay, let me see what this is. Bitumen. It's, yeah, this is really like slimy, broken stone, and you could sink in it. Okay, it's not getting hard. Slime. Nowadays, you got that green slime. What the fuck is this shit? Anyway, so it's basically something slimy. So those were the slime pits. Okay, and I got another example here. Strong's well, pit, spring. It's basically quicksand. Okay. And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. And they that remained fled to the mountain. So the king of Sodom and Gomorrah got messed up in it. Okay, they got stuck. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way, because they robbed them blind. And they took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So they robbed the king of Sodom and Gomorrah, and then they robbed Abraham. Abraham, his brother's son, which is Lot. So they robbed the king of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their goods, and took all their goods and their victuals, and went on their way. And they took Lot, all his stuff also, all his goods, and they departed. Genesis 14 and 13. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew. From now on, he will be known as the Hebrew. For he dwelled, this is the first time he was called the Hebrew. So they knew he was a Hebrew. They called him a Hebrew since before Genesis chapter 14. But now they confirm it. This is officially the first time Abram the Hebrew is mentioned. And told Abram the Hebrew, he dwelled in the plain of Mamre the Amorite. Mamre. Think of Mamre. Thundercats. The Amorite is an African. So the Pharaoh, Mamre. That's where they got it from. Anyway. Brother and Eshcol. And brother of Eshcol. And brother of Aner. And these were confederate with Abraham. And Abraham heard that his brother, his nephew, his brother was captive. He armed his trained servants. So Abraham was training his servants. Abraham was not a pussy man. He had trained in superior martial art, so-called martial art, but back then it was called probably, I don't know, the Hebrew beatdown or something like that. You know, Hebrew smack. You know, the Hebrew beatdown click or whatever, whatever. You know, just saying something. Martial arts. The word martial arts is just um, recent, dug up word. Anyway, armed his trained servants born in his house 318. 318 men, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobad, which is on the left hand of Damascus. So Abraham is a warrior, man. He heard his cousin got taken captive. He was probably gonna use him as a slave or whatever. And he was like, nah, nah, boy, you ain't doing that to my people. And he took 318 men. That's not a lot to going against kingdoms and stuff like that. Like 5 kings, I think I read, or 4 kings, whatever. Not whatever. I mean, one of those two. And he brought back all the goods, and he brought again his brother Lot, which is his little nephew, which is his brother, and his goods, and women also, and the people. So Lot, when he was caught, all his female servants, the women, all his goods, and all the other people, which are his male servants, was caught. So these kings from these other nations, they was probably gonna sell Lot and all his women and all his men. You know what I'm saying? But Abraham put a stop to that with the quickness. Verse 17. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Shedar Laomer, because the king of Sodom he was stuck in the slime pit. And the kings that were with him at the valley of Javeh, which is the king's dale, and Melchizedek, his name is Malak Tazadakia, king of righteous, king of Shalem, king of Shalom, king of peace, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God, of the Most High Yahweh. I'll do a separate video about him, because that's a little bit deep. I'll do a separate video. I'm just going to read the rest. Verse 19. And he blessed him, the high priest, the priest of God, the high priest of God, the priest of the Most High God, Melchizedek, king of peace. He blessed him, he blessed Abraham, and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God himself. And blessed be the Most High God. That's what King Melchizedek said. Which had delivered thine enemies into thine hand, and he gave him tithes of all. Abraham gave King Melchizedek all the tithes. You know. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. Because the king of Sodom is a homosexual, and Abraham was like, this is what Abraham said. And Abraham said to the king of Sodom, the homosexual, probably had little animals in his, trying to fuck him. I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth. So he basically made not a vow, he basically said, I lift up my hand to the Most High. This is what he said. That I will not take a thread, even a shoelace, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abraham rich. So Abraham was like, I'm not going to let this homosexual give me anything, because he is going to tell people like, miss, look at me. I did this to you. I made you rich. Know what I'm saying? Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol and Mamre let them take their portion. So with that, Shalom. So you can see only the food was kept. The rest, nah, you can keep that. I don't want your nonsense. So Shalom.